Okay, sir, I'm going to begin my COLAS test. I'm going to begin with the cut-in air pressure test. The cut-in air pressure test is designed to test when the air compressor starts to build air on my tractor. I'll know that this has occurred when I see my air pressure needle right here on the dash begin to rise. This should occur by 100 psi. With my engine running and 120 pounds of air pressure, I'm going to fan my service brake, reducing my air pressure. When in between, I'll stop regularly to allow the needle to stabilize and call out whether the needle is stable or rising. I'm going to begin fanning my service brake. With the parking brake applied, trailer protection valve applied, transmission in neutral, I'm going to begin fanning my service brake. With one pump, my air pressure is at 110 psi and the needle is stable. I'm going to depress the service brake again, reducing the air pressure even further. On my second pump of my service brake, my air pressure is now at 105 psi and the needle is stable. I'm going to press again. My air pressure needle is still stable on the dash at 101 psi. I correct that. My needle is rising at 101 psi. My cut-in air pressure test is 101 psi. I'm now going to perform the cut-out air pressure test. The cut-out air pressure test is designed to test when the air compressor stops building air. This should occur by 140 psi. I will know that this has occurred when my needle on my dash, on my air pressure tank, stops rising and settles, stabilizes. The needle is still rising. It appears that my needle has stabilized at 121 psi. My cutout air pressure is 121 psi. I'm now going to perform the applied leakage test. I'm going to cover the service brake, depress the clutch, move the transmission into the lowest forward gear. I'm going to turn off the engine, but turn the key back to the on position so my gauges are readable. I'm now going to depress my service brake with my right foot and hold. I'm going to press in my park brake relay, followed by my trailer protection valve, and allow my air tanks to settle. While still holding my right foot firmly on the service brake and 105 psi, I'm going to begin timing for 1 minute. During this timing, I'm looking for any air pressure loss on my air gauge. For a tractor only, I'm allowed 3 or less psi air pressure loss. For a tractor and trailer, which is what we are, I'm allowed 4 psi or less air pressure loss. And if I had a tractor, trailer, dolly, trailer combination, I'm allowed 6 psi or less air pressure loss in that 1 minute. Still timing. All right, it has been 1 minute. My air pressure gauge on the dash is still reading 105 psi. I have 0 air pressure loss. I'm now going to perform the low air warning test. The low air warning test, for that, I'm going to fan my service brake with my right foot, reducing my air pressure. When the air pressure drops between 55 and 75 psi, I should see a warning light right here on my dash, and I should hear a warning buzzer in my ear. I'm going to begin fanning my service brake, reducing my air pressure. Slowly pumping, allowing both tanks to settle. I see the warning light and I hear the warning buzzer at 61 psi. My low air warning indicators came on at 61 psi. I'm now going to perform the spring brake test. For the spring brake test, I'm going to continue fanning the service brake with my right foot and dropping my air pressure on the gauge. When the air pressure drops between 45 and 20 psi, my trailer protection valve, followed by my park brake relay, should activate. I'm going to begin fanning. All right, at 30 psi on my gauge, I see that my trailer protection valve, followed by my park brake relay, both activated. I now see and feel that my park brake is applied. I'm going to cover my service brake with my right foot, depress my clutch, take my transmission out of gear into neutral, and I'm going to perform a safe start of my engine. My oil pressure is rising. My air pressure is at 30 psi. My oil pressure is stable at 40 psi. I'm now going to raise my RPMs to build up my air pressure. Once I have a full tank of air, I'm going to perform my 4 brake tests. The first brake test will be my trailer protection valve. The second brake test will be my park brake relay. The third test will be my hand valve. And my final test will be my service brake with my right foot. Watching the needle rise, we are at 90 psi. I need to get to a full tank. Alright, my needle is stabilized at 121 psi. I have a full tank of air. I just placed the transmission into the lowest forward gear. My right foot is going to cover the service brake while my left foot controls the clutch. I'm going to release my parking brake relay. Allow my needles to stabilize. Now with 115 pounds of air pressure, my park brake relay pressed in, my trailer protection valve activated, transmission is in the lowest forward gear, my right foot covering the service brake. I'm going to slowly release the clutch to test my trailer air supply emergency brake. Emergency brake held the unit. I'm now going to apply my park brake, press in my trailer protection valve, and allow my air tanks to stabilize. My air tanks have stabilized with 90 pounds of air pressure, parking brake applied, trailer protection valve released, transmission in the lowest forward gear, right foot covering the service brake but not touching. I'm going to slowly release the clutch. Parking brake held the unit. I'm now going to apply my hand valve, press in my trailer protection valve, and once again allow the tanks to stabilize. Now with 95 pounds of air pressure, my hand valve applied, parking brake and trailer protection valve both pressed in, transmission in the lowest forward gear, right foot covering the service brake but not touching. I'm going to slowly release the clutch to test my hand valve. Hand valve held. I am now going to depress my service brake with my right foot, release my hand valve with 100 pounds of air pressure, hand valve released, parking brake pressed in, trailer protection valve pressed in, transmission in the lowest forward gear. I'm going to slowly release my clutch and my service brake, and within one rotation of the tires, reapply my service brakes to test my service brakes. Service brakes held. I'm now going to activate my parking brake, take my transmission and place it into neutral, turn off the engine, pull key. That completes my COLAS test. So.